with a destiny. Got purpose and zest, you see. Books, business, and accessories. She walks in favor and she's blessed indeed. She keeps her head and her heels high, and her limit soars beyond the sky. If it's purpose she's pushing, you've tuned in with Table Talk with a Diva. Why? Join in, it might free ya. Hey, hey. And if you're feeling down, come in. The enemy he's trapped won't win. For God has given you vision, and in the end you shall win. Hey. Table Talk with a Diva. Why? Join in, it might free ya. Hey, hey. And if you're feeling down, come in.
Well, great evening, and welcome back to Table Talk with the Diva. I am your beautiful, amazing host, Pierra Collins. Super excited, delighted, and ignited to be back at the table on Table Talk with you this evening. And I pray that you are all well. Let me say, because I have been under the weather, I've been ailing in my body and being challenged for more than 2 weeks. And so I am yet pushing, but because I am a faith walker and believing everything that God says about me and you, I am yet pushing. And so I want to encourage you today, just when you think that your story is powerful, there is another story that is coming up in the rear that you got to hear tonight. So that brings me to our phenomenal, amazing guest, Dorsey Cook, beautiful woman of God. She is an entrepreneur, an author, a woman of many hats, a wife, a mother. And so I am so honored to have her on the platform today. So I want you to make sure that you go to Facebook and share the episode. Please remember to go to YouTube live and catch it there. If you're not on social media, you can watch it. And also, please remember to subscribe to my channel at Destiny Chasers Soar, because I want you to catch all the good things that we are doing and all the empowerment we're bringing. And so for this month, it is Mother's Day. Of course, mothers, we're celebrating every day. But because this month has been set out strategically for Mother's Day, the theme for the month God has given me is Mothers of Destiny. And so that's who we are today, and that's who we're bringing on. So let's welcome the beautiful, amazing Dorsey Cook to the platform.
Good
Well,
afternoon.
great evening. Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. I am so honored to be sitting at your feet this evening to just hear how you are going to pour out to others and empower us, because your story was one that caught me, that I wasn't ready for, I must say. And I've had a lot of phenomenal guests on, powerful women, and they all were, beautiful in their own rights. But it's something special and unique about your journey that I felt compelled to bring it out in the forefront, because we need to talk about it. And so, sex trafficking, it is something I would say as a mother and a grandmother that no one ever wants to experience or hear the news that has happened to their loved ones. No one in their right mind, I would say that. So again, thank you so much for saying yes to God and yes to Table Talk. And so we're elated to have you here. It is truly, truly, truly an honor. So hey guys, if you're just tuning in to Table Talk, welcome once again back. And there is a seat at the table for you, and you. So wherever you are, pull up a chair and turn on your ear gates. Tune in, because this is going to be a powerful episode where we're going to be able to hear some very important details and information that could possibly save the lives of your loved one. So with that being said, we want to welcome, bless everyone for Mother's Day. Let me go back, because I don't want to forget that. In case I forget it on the end, charge it to my heart and not my mind on today, or my mind and not my heart today. So we're celebrating Mother's Day. This is Mother's Day month, Mother's Day week, day, however you choose to. We're celebrating mothers all around the globe. wherever time it is, morning, evening, or at night. We are celebrating you. So my hat's off to you. We commend you for being always a woman of many hats, doing so many things. So once again, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Everybody. So we're gonna roll into the call. I have a prayer call. Help me, Father. We're gonna roll into the episode. So, Ms. Dorsey, let's introduce you. I spoke that you who you are, and just briefly, if you can give us a brief testimony, because we're gonna get into it. So I don't want you to go and just tell them who you are and what's your platform as of today.
My name is Dr. Dorsey Jones Cook. I am a author. I am by profession, a probation officer in Atlanta. Well, I changed that because on the 24th of this month, I start my new journey in the district attorney's office. And a motivational speaker, an advocate, a survivor of sex trafficking, and an influencer.
Mm, yeah. Powerful, powerful. That's I said that's a woman of many, many hats. My God, only God can do it and build us that way. So you've got to be built differently to walk in a lot of stuff that you're doing right now. So I commend you for that. So with that being said, we're gonna go. We always start off with an icebreaker. I like to start off with an icebreaker. So I'm going to give you two words. I'm going to give you a word. You give me a word. Whatever comes up comes out. There's no right, wrong answer. It's not a trick. Test or anything like that, just speaking how important words are. So, with that being said, your first word would be survivor.
My first word to you would be holy.
Holy.
Yeah, holy.
Okay. Holy. Amen. Amen. Okay. I love it. Um, your second word and your last word would be transform.
My word to you would be phenomenal.
Loving it. All right. There you have it. Survival, survivor, and you gave me holy, and it was transform, and your word was
Phenomenal.
phenomenal. And so when I hear that, for me, I would say the only person that would fit that those words would be our Heavenly Father, because He is truly holy, and I know it took building and establishing a relationship, a holy relationship with the Father, in order to be transformed from what you've been through to where you are today. So, words are very important. So, I always like to have the icebreaker. And I say that because words can either make you or break you. Some
Absolutely.
people can speak nothing but defeat, death, harmful, negative words in an entire conversation every single time they get an opportunity. Or you can speak life and change your perspective and open new doors and create possibilities with words. So we can speak life or death. The choice is ours. And so God tells us in the word to choose life. And so he wants us to be prosperous in every area of our life. So there's no shame in saying that we both are believers. We are women of God. And so, no, this is not a Christian talk show, but I am a believer, and so I have no problem with addressing that and acknowledging that, because that's who I am. And so I don't dim my light for anything or anybody when it comes to that, and my faith and where I am. But moving along, so we're going to start. Let's talk a little bit about. You have an opening that I heard that was phenomenal. Are you at liberty to share that?
Mama, there's no food in the house and I'm hungry. Mama, where you never put your arms around me to tell me that you love me. Deprivation lived in my home. The feeling of being unloved lived in my home, and child exploitation, it lived there too. See, I know that life all too well. My neighbor
Mm.
crumbled up $20, came to my gate, and placed that $20 in my hand. And the first time he fondled me, the second time he caressed my tiny breast, and the third time he inserted his penis in the inside of my vagina. And
Oh,
when he
Jesus.
finished with me, he passed me to his older brother, and they passed me to their father. The man behind me was sleeping with me while his wife worked the 3 to 11 shift. She was a nurse. And the man down the street was sleeping with me. And before you knew it, half of the community in Decatur County, Bainbridge, Georgia, was sleeping with a scared, hungry 11-year-old child.
My God. Whew. That's heavy. That is heavy. And I commend you for the strength to do this over and over and over again. Um, so let's chat, if we can, if you can kind of talk to the viewers on how your journey began, when you even realized, how old were you when you realized that you were being violated without even knowing?
Well, to even start my journey, for a long time, I didn't understand what a mother's love supposed to felt like. I lost my dad when I was 2, and my mother, we lived in Virginia in Norfolk, and my mother brought us to Georgia to her hometown. And my mother has always been the type of person that was loving, that was kind, that would go above and beyond to make sure that people needs were being met. She was a giver. She was a pioneer by right. She loved people. And I used to ask myself as a little kid, why could my mom do so much good but not see what was happening to me, or not being able to provide for me what I thought she should have provided? So my whole life, I didn't understand. It wasn't until I got older I realized that my mom gave me what she had. She gave me what she had, and that was all that she had.
Mm.
And as I got older, I understood. She gave me her best. She did. She gave me what was given to her. And that's the way I looked at it. But to answer your question, when my mom brought us to Georgia, my mom took her, it was 4 of us at the time. She took us to her mother's house, and she dropped us off. Now, we had never met her mother. We had never met her family. And I had left Virginia, and my grandmother was kind. My father's mother was loving. They were people that took care of us. They were nurturers by right. So when we came to Georgia, I got the total opposite. My mom dropped us off to her mom's house. It was 7 people living in a 2-bedroom little apartment, and then my mom dropped her 4 kids off. My grandmother was very abusive, and my aunt was very abusive. I'm talking about things that it would break your heart to know that a child would get beaten for nothing, or get hit across the head with a shoe, or made to
Jesus.
lay across the bed and just been beaten with a like a light water hose for no reason. And I used
My,
to write in the road, God, please let my mama come. That's what I wanted. God, at 6 years old, God, please let my mama come. And my mom
Jesus.
finally came. She did come. Because as a kid, I thought she was so far away, but she was across the river. And when you're a child and you hear across the river, you think it's a long way, but
Right,
it
right, right.
wasn't. She was about 15 minutes away. She was staying with a man that she knew as a young girl, and she always loved him. So that's where she was. And we didn't have a whole lot. We didn't have like clothes and shoes. And I wrote in the road, God, please let my mom come in the dirt. And my mom finally came, and she took my siblings, but she left me there at her mom's house a little bit longer. And that meant I was enduring some more whippings and being mistreated. It was just horrible. And one day, I guess God spoke to her and was like, "Go get your child." And my mom came and got me, and she took me to the home where she was. And the man that she was dating at the time, he was loving, he was kind, but he also was a womanizer. He had other
Jesus.
women that he had relationships outside of my mom, but my mom was the type of person that didn't know how to love herself properly. So she took whatever was given to her. And because my dad was in the military and he passed away, my mom was getting like Social Security and VA checks for herself, myself, and my brother that was younger than me. So there was a lot of money coming in. And the man that she was dating at the time, he knew that my mom didn't know how to speak up for herself. So he
Right,
would
right.
take the money and they would have fights on Friday nights and he would put us out of his house and we would have to walk the street with our clothes or whatever we had in the trash bag. And my mom would walk the street with her children. And then later on, he would let us come back in the house and go to sleep. But my mom got tired of that. So she decided to move behind him on a dirt road, and that's when my abuse took place. He would still come and see about us. He would still come and make sure we had food sometimes, but he also knew it was some benefits for him because my mom was getting money and the community knew my mom was getting money, and people could just tell my mom a sad story and she'd give them her last. So
Well,
that Friday, we didn't really have a whole lot of food in the house. We didn't really have a whole lot of nothing. And the guy across the street, he knew that it was a deficit. He knew that my mom was not around, and he also knew that I didn't have. He was a grown man. He was in his 40s when I was 11. And when he crumbled up that $20 and gave it to me, it was on a Friday after school. It was the sun had just went down and my gate was broken. And he stood there, and when he crumbled up that $20 and he gave it in my hand, put it in my hand, I was never a selfish kid. You know, I took that $20 and went to the convenience store, and it was like a little uh, mom and pop store. I went in that store and I bought 2 cans of green beans and some beef stew at 11. I didn't know how to cook it, but I had seen my mom, mess around in the kitchen. So that's what I did. I fed my siblings. And
So let me ask you,
the,
let me pause. Wow, this is like really, really heavy. And to hear all the responsibility that you had to deal with at such a young age, and then to hear that mom came back and left you and took the others. Um, at some point, um, did you ever have a conversation with mom, being from 6 or 7 years of age to 11? Like,
no,
where did you go? Or why did you leave me? Or did mom
no,
ever share ever? Like,
no, I never asked those questions because I just love my mom. And even though
okay,
we didn't have much in the house, I remember laying in the bed. It was four of us at the time, and my mom would lay in the bed and she would like bend her legs, and I would sleep in the crease of her leg. So I didn't, I guess I didn't have enough sense to ask any of those questions. I just wanted to be with my mama,
long years with
even
mom.
though she
Mhm.
wasn't what I seen other people mom look like or contribute to their household. I knew she was
Okay.
my mom,
Right.
and I love my
Right.
mom.
Right. 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 Wow. Wow. So now where you are, and I don't know if your mother is still alive.
Oh, my
Is your
mom is alive. Our relationship is like redemption. Like my mom is the best mom right now. My mom is
yeah.
like the mom that God knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
What she couldn't give me as a child, she give it to me now.
Beautiful.
And I think
Beautiful.
the most beautiful thing, and I don't want you to think that I'm crying because I'm weak, because I'm
No,
not.
not at all. Not at all. I see strength, honey. I see
I'm
strength
I'm crying
because it,
because
yeah.
maybe God felt like when I was a child, I was strong, and
Yeah.
I didn't really, I could survive. But as a grown
Yes, you
woman
did.
today, my mom has been amazing in my life. Like
Wow.
the things that she do for me now is not, I can't even put a price on it.
Amen. So
She's
would
just
you
amazing.
say, and I understand you said that you just always wanted to, be with mom. Would you say that at some point you had to have a conversation with God? Did you forgive her, or you never even addressed it to the point, well, it was nothing to forgive. It just was what it was, and I just
No,
grew.
about 2 years ago, my mom came to Atlanta to visit me,
Okay.
and her words to me was, my mom is very spiritual now.
Okay.
She
Yeah.
loved the Lord, and she told me, she said, I want to, I want to tell you that I'm sorry. And she said, I want you to forgive me. And when my mom told me that, I said, you don't have to say another word. I
Mm.
said, we don't even have to bring anything up. We don't have to discuss anything. And that was it. Because she took
Yeah.
the time to listen
Mm.
to me. And that's when I realized that she really did the best she could.
Okay.
She gave me what
Right.
she had that was in her. Uh, and that's all I could ask for. She did the best. But I think growing up as a kid, seeing my mom take care of other people and do it so effortless and be so wonderful with other people, and I wasn't able to receive that, it just didn't always feel good. Because my mom knew how to take care of my siblings. Like, my siblings, we all may not have had food and running water and lights, but my mom still knew how to nurture my siblings for whatever reason. She knew how to do that. It's just that when this started happening to me, the community knew that men were sleeping with me. The community
Lord
knew
Jesus.
because I was jumping in and out of cars from 11 till I was 18 years old. And
Lord
the men were
Jesus.
taking me in the woods, having sex with me, taking me to bandos and apartments and
Oh my
hotels
God.
and having sex
And
with
no
me.
one stepped in
No, no one stepped in,
and
but my
said, "This
fourth
is a
grade.
child. How could you? If I see you, I'm gonna call the cops." I mean, no one. And that just kind of blows my mind.
Well, you have to think that I was in a rural part of Georgia. Like, I was in the
Yeah,
country,
I
and
yeah.
a lot of times people, adults, they would talk, but nobody came to ask the question. If
Question. Wow.
you see a kid walking the street late at night and you see him getting in and out of cars, nobody came to say, I see your child, is something wrong. The teachers see me come to school um, with
Mm.
holy clothes and tore up shoes, but nobody ever said, let me pay attention, let me go and do a wellness check, let me find out. It was only when my fourth grade teacher was attending Albany State, and she was going to school to get her doctorate, and she was working on a poverty uh thesis, and
Hmm.
she chose me out of the class to do her assignment on. And she started spending time with me. And because she started spending time with me and I was so clingy and so needy, I would walk 6 miles just to get her to her house on the weekend so I could have somebody to spend time with. When I became a grown woman and I wrote my book and I went back home to do a documentary, she
Okay.
cried and said, I never knew any of this was happening. But now that
Wow.
I go back and I replay it in my mind, I remember when you came to school looking this way and that way. And I told it was okay. God knew what he was doing
Mm.
for a time such as this. I didn't die in it. I really and truly didn't die in it. My life was used for a time such as this. Like, I have no regrets, like none. I don't hate anybody. I see some of the men that slept with me. I see their children and their grandchildren
Oh
now.
wow.
And
Wow.
just to see what I'm doing in the world, in the earth.
And
Um,
so you never had a desire to go back and report the things that had happened to make these grown men be accountable for their actions? Because at the time, like you said, you were a child, you didn't know anything about your value, your self worth, or knowing that you were being taken advantage of. You were just in survival mode. But after you gain knowledge, I guess as a young adult, you never had the desire to make them be accountable for their actions.
Well, a lot of them, because I was young and they were so old, a lot of them are deceased now.
Hmm.
But the ones that are alive, they know. When I wrote my book and I
Mhm.
changed the names, I
Correct.
gave a description of what they did for a living. And because our population in my hometown was so small, if I said
Everyone knew.
it was the electrician and he lived on X Street, they
Hmm.
already knew who he was. So
Mhm.
they have already been exposed.
Wow. Wow. Bless you. Bless you. And I hear that. I hear that they've already been exposed. I guess in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, they just really mean, ugly people to know that you are doing this to a child. And then for you to say you see their children and grandchildren now. So that means they had loved ones. But this is the danger and harm that they would do to someone else's loved one. And mom at the time just wasn't in a place or space. And as you said, she gave all that she had and whatever her best was, it had to be good enough. And I get that. Um, but I commend you for not letting this ruin your life. And so let's talk about where you are now, because now you are a probation officer, which you have been for, you said, about 17, 18 years. And now God is elevating you into another area. So how impactful would you say what you, after you went to college and became a probation officer, how much, I guess, of your past has prepared you for that journey?
Well, when I was in high school, my grades really was not acceptable. I wasn't making good grades because I really was just living
Right.
at anybody's house. Anybody that would allow me to stay at their house, that's where I stayed. And when I graduated from high school, my grades just was not up to par at the time. So the
Okay.
family who had me living with them, they sent me to Atlanta to go to Job Corps. So when I got to Job Corps, God had put something in the inside of me to let me know that I was better than Job Corps. So I walked to Morris Brown College for 6 days. I was denied. I walked for 7 days. I was denied 6 days by a young man by the name of Donald Holmes. He had just graduated. He was working in
Hmm.
admissions, and every day he told me I couldn't attend. But I knew, because God had put a burning desire in the inside of me that told me that I was more than what society said I was in Bainbridge. So I went back. And on the seventh day, there was a man there by the name of Christopher Andrews.
Let's
He
pause 1 second. I want to pause. I am asking those of you that may have tuned in late or just jumping on, please share the episode. We have on the platform Miss Dorsey Cook. Dorsey Cook is a not just a survivor, but a thriver of sex trafficking from the age around 11 to 18 years of age, have endured so much. And I promise you, you won't regret listening. You won't regret sharing and supporting the episode today. It is very helpful because some of us have loved ones that may be out there and thinking that they have the answers and they got street smarts and they know everything. And there are people out there that are just lurking to do evil things to children and force them to be something that they were not created to be. And so, if you can share the episode, because you never know who this is going to help, you may be able to share it with someone that may be really disturbed in their mind, and for them to hear it and to hear how ugly and awful the person can be, male or female. We pray that something will change inside of them, that God will ignite something that to know that they're better than that. And this is not what they have been created to do. So if you can share the episode, make sure you are supporting, share it, like, comment, leave concerns and questions. And maybe you have some questions for Miss Dorsey that she could answer later or even later in the episode, but definitely. So I want to hear about when you said that the burning desire. So I'm hearing purpose coming alive more and more. So when you discovered that there was greater inside of you after all that you went through with the sex trafficking, the physical, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse that you endured as a child, on that seventh day that you went to Morris Brown College, let's talk about what happened.
I met a man there by the name of Christopher Andrews, and he worked in admissions. And he said, "How can I help you?" I said, "My name is Dorsey Jones. I'm from Bainbridge, and I want to be a student at this great institution." He asked me, how was my grades. I told him at the time they were low. I said I had like a 1.7 GPA. And he asked me where was I from. And when I told him I was from Bainbridge, he called my high school, and Mary Gant was my guidance counselor at the time. She answered the phone. And at the time, I didn't know what their conversation was. I just knew that when he got off the phone, he told me that he was going to let me be a student and I had to take the placement test. I was never a good test taker. I was never good at anything because all I wanted to do was just survive. So I
Come on.
ended up taking the placement and I ended up passing all the classes except for the math. I had to take 099. And what I found out was Miss Gant told him that her uncle was the first doctor in Bainbridge, Georgia. He sat on the board of trustees at Morris Brown. And if they didn't give me an opportunity to be a student, they weren't going to get any more funding. So when they accepted me, I had to leave Job Corps because I couldn't be a student at Job Corps and go to Morris Brown.
Right,
So I was
right.
homeless for a couple of days and I was living on Martin Luther King Boulevard. And I had an old raggedy suitcase and I stopped at this gray house that sat right next to Morris Brown. And I told the man that I was homeless, and he told me at the time that that house was for recovering addicts. He didn't have any room, but I could sleep on the balcony. And when he
My
told me
God.
that I could sleep on the balcony, I had to take a fold up chair and sit in the chair and put my feet on top of the ledge. And I wasn't comfortable,
Jesus.
but I could see the traffic going back and forth and I could hear the lights and I could hear the sirens. And when I got up that morning, I went in the bathroom and I seen bugs on the sink. And that
Jesus.
burning desire came back to me and it was like, you better than this. So I went back to Morris
Jesus.
Brown. And at the time, there was a lady named Marsha Brooks. She was over housing. And when I told her that I was homeless, she gave me a key to the Cochrane Towers on the seventh floor. And she told me I couldn't tell anybody. And when she gave me that room, that was my first time having my own room. And inside that room, it was designed for two students. I could sleep on the right, I could sleep on the left. I had no comforters, no sheets, anything. But I had something that God gave me that was mine. And I never was allowed to have kids to come in my other students to come in my room because I didn't have what they had. So I would go to other people's room and enjoy their stuff and come back in my room and use my jeans as my pillow until my refund came. And when my refund came from school, I was able to go purchase the things that I needed. So when I graduated and I became a probation officer, I didn't want anybody to see the the stuff that was attached to me. So
My
I
God.
felt like if I went and bought a BMW and nice clothes and I looked a certain way, then I had arrived. But it wasn't until I was a probation officer and a young girl came into my office and she was being charged as traffic and they had the shackles on her during court. And when that happened, it was like, how dare you act like you better than somebody? How dare you act like you never experienced this?
Lord Jesus.
So you need to take those layers off, take those glasses off, those Gucci glasses, forget about that BMW and be transparent in the moment.
Come on
So
now.
I went upstairs and I told the young lady who was running You Spark at the time, Jennifer Swain, that I was a prostitute. That's what I told her. I said I was a prostitute and I want to help. And at that moment,
Wow.
she told me, she said, Dorsey, you what? She grabbed me by my shoulders and she held me in her arms and she said, you were never a prostitute. Children can't prostitute. She said you were exploited. And at that moment, it's like layers came off of me because that was the first time somebody didn't call me a whore. That was the
Come on
first
now.
time somebody didn't tell me that I was throwaway. That was
Come
the
on.
first time that somebody told me who I was and that I had did nothing wrong, but something was wrong done to me. somebody did something to me. And
That's right.
that's when I realized what my calling was. That was when I realized that I had to be the voice for the voiceless.
Borrowing the
I had
belief.
to not only be their voice, but teach them how to use their voice. Teach them that I was once them. And if God could bring me out of it, they can have the same right and the same
That's right.
privileges as I have. And
My
that's
God.
why I got on this movement. And that's why I do what I do.
This is so, so powerful. And as you're talking, I'm hearing in my inner man is saying you had to borrow the belief of some, and sometimes we have to do that. You borrowed the belief of the lady that you went and told that you were a prostitute, and she straightened that really quickly.
Yeah,
You
she
were
did.
never a prostitute, you were exploited. And so, as you said, immediately when she clarified that and spoke that to you, into you, the layers began to come off. The shackles were released
Yeah.
because you were still at the, be honest, with all that you said, all the glimmer and the BMW and the Gucci glasses and all this fly stuff that we wear, but the layers came off. We were
The
still in
shame.
bondage,
Yes, the
still in
shame.
bondage, still in bondage, dressed up on the outside, but in bondage. And so thank God for the lady that you went to, a supervisor, whoever the person that you went to, and you borrowed. I hear that you borrowed her belief. You had to borrow because you didn't even realize that, again, I guess what you were doing, like you said, you were trying to cover it up, so you couldn't even believe in yourself. You just knew that you overcame whatever, and that was that. But then I am so grateful. I'm so grateful to hear that there are still people out there like that. And so sometimes we have to borrow the belief until we can really believe in ourselves and see who we are and where we come from. And we're not the mistakes, we're not the bad decisions, we are not the things that happen to us, basically. We're better than that, but we were
Yeah.
just, for whatever reason, the ones that got caught up and was in the trenches, but we are not those people or the things that was done to us. So I am so grateful to hear that. So once you borrowed that belief, and as I said, the shackles came off, what happened and how did your journey just began to take off?
I continued to work in probation,
Hmm.
and I decided to write a book. And I
Yeah.
always thought that my son was going to be this great basketball player. My husband told me one day, and I actually need to go backwards. I met my husband at Morris Brown.
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in dating because I knew that this was a one time experience for me to get into a HBCU, not having the ACT, the SAT scores. I knew I
That's right.
couldn't mess this up. So I wasn't thinking about a man. I wasn't
Come
thinking
on.
about having sex. I wasn't thinking about any of those things. But my husband asked me out for a year. And I wouldn't date him. I wouldn't do anything because I really wanted to focus on school. I nominated myself for student support services and had more votes than the president. But when that happened, I my life just changed. My life changed
Hmm.
because it was a man that took an interest in me for a whole year, and it was men that hurt me.
That's right.
And but God sent a man to love me. He
Come on
sent
now.
a man to love me and to love me with his whole heart, to show me that I'm lovable.
That's right.
So my journey came
Glory to
after I met my husband. My journey came. I thought my son was
God.
going to be a basketball player, and God was like, "No." My husband's like, "No, it's not going to be that way. You need to write a book." So at night when I couldn't sleep because I still had anxiety, I still suffer with a lot of stuff, trauma. When I couldn't sleep, I would just get on my iPhone and I wrote my book.
Yeah.
And when I got the book published and people started reading it and they was like, "Oh my God, your book is amazing." I couldn't put it down. I read it all night. I read it while I
Yes.
was at
Yes.
work, and
Yes.
Amazon was showing me all 5 stars and all the comments that was being made. I realized then that I had purpose and I didn't
Come
have to be
on.
ashamed of my life. My life was
That's
really
right.
blessing people. And then
That's
people
right.
start coming saying, "It happened to me. This happened to me and I felt this way and I may not have been
Mm.
molested by men, but I had issues with my mom and I had low self-esteem and your life is just powerful." And when
Yes.
I seen that, but I think what really got me the most is working in a sex trafficking division and
Hmm.
having young girls to come in, and it would take the staff months, weeks to have them disclose. But when they meet me and I sit down and I tell them my story, they disclose to me within 45 minutes. That's powerful, because what it said
Powerful.
is they felt comfortable because they knew I was just like them, and there was no judgment. There
That's
was
right.
no judgment.
Mm,
You
come
can't
on.
tell nobody how to walk with if you never walked the walk. Like, you don't know what it
Mm,
feel like.
come on.
Children
That's
don't
it.
wake up and say, I want to sell my body today. Oh, I
No,
think I'm going
ma'am.
to sell my body.
That's
They
right.
put in situations. I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to go sleep with Mr. So-and-so so he can give me a popsicle out of his freezer, because that's what was happening. He was sleeping with me, and once he got through putting Vaseline on his private part and inserting it
Jesus.
inside of me, when he finished, he took me to his freezer on the back porch, and he gave me an ice cream sandwich sometimes, and sometimes he gave me a popsicle and sent me on my way. And I was just a happy little kid. I was
Oh,
just happy to get
Jesus.
whatever he gave me.
Oh, wow. My God. Girl, when I tell you, when I tell you, when I tell you, and to be a mother of two daughters and a granddaughter, I can't even begin to articulate my thoughts that are just rambling all
But
in my just
you
whew,
you know what?
my
In all
gosh.
that what I just heard you say, the first thing came to my mind is conversations. When we have conversations with our children at a young age, even your
That's right.
granddaughters, you teach them about their bodies.
That's right.
So many
That's right.
times we want to label the vagina as the pocketbook. No, it's a vagina.
Mhm.
And
No,
nobody has the
vagina.
right to touch your vagina.
That's right.
Nobody has the right to touch your breast. And mommy and
Absolutely.
grandma's not going to get in any trouble.
That's right.
Nobody's going to hurt us. You have to have that conversation with your children and let them know what the expectation is.
Everything.
And also let them
Everything.
know how the man or the woman too, because sometimes it could be
That's
women
right.
plant the seed
Absolutely.
that, oh, you're gonna be in trouble, they're not gonna like you
Mm-mm.
anymore, they're
Mm-mm.
gonna take you away, and they're gonna somebody gonna be killed. You have to talk to your children.
That's
And
right.
I'm gonna tell you this: if you don't have nothing in your house but bread and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you make a
Mm.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You
That's
make it
right.
together, and you cut
That's
that
it.
thing in half, and you love each other eating that peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
You know,
totally agree. I will say our backgrounds it's a little bit different because I grew up in a two-parent home, but it was my uncle that came and violated me at age 9. And so after that, experiencing that with him and becoming a little teenager, immediately I started recognizing there was something a little bit different about me versus the girls that I was playing with. And when the men came around, I became this other little girl. And I didn't understand what that was or why. But when I realized as I got a little bit older and talking to my mom, who would share, tell it all. I don't care who it is, what it is, you tell. I don't care if they tell you you're going to be in trouble, you won't. And what my mom taught me and my sisters, my family, and what I taught my girls, and they're grown women now, the story, the secret that you keep can cost you your life. So you always tell. So growing up, oh, Pierre and them, they a tattletale. Yes, because I was taught to tell it all. My mama said, even tell on me. If mommy is doing something to hurt you and make you feel some type of way, you tell daddy. You tell grandma. That means that mama is sick and mama needs help. So my mother was very adamant about telling it all. And so I would tell my girls, well, mommy, you want me to tell on daddy? Yes, tell on your dad. Tell on me. You tell on grandma. You tell anybody that is hurting you. You tell somebody that you know that loves you, that's going to protect you. But I won't be in trouble. You're never in trouble. It's the grown up. It's whomever that has done something to you, they're the one going to be in trouble. So I
right?
stress that, and I'm so grateful to God that I even would have conversation with my girls, my ladies now. It's like, oh no, never. No one has never. And so I'm blessed to honestly to say that, but I was a stickler about it. And one thing, what my mom would say, She just didn't believe in girls sleeping away from home. She said, because when I'm at home, tucked away in my bed with your daddy, I don't know what could be going on with somebody's mama, brother, boyfriend, or uncle in their home, and my child is being taken advantage of, and we at home tucked away. So I couldn't grow up. I didn't grow up being able to spend a night away from home. No, we could do certain things, but my mama said, well, they can come and sleep here because I set the tone, and this right here is not going to go under my roof. But I can't say what's going to happen in somebody else's home. So no, y'all can't go. And I always thought my mom was just so strict and just, it didn't make sense. But as we got older, we understood, and we understood why we were the ones not having the children at teenagers and whatever, and different things was happening outside and we could see it, and then it made sense. But back to me, I started associating things in men. If I do this, then I'm going to get that. I got this because I did whatever. And again, like I told him, I wasn't walking the streets as a prostitute, but I didn't do no different. I didn't do anything different than what the ladies were getting in and out of the cars and going around the corner, do whatever, whatever, whatever. And you see them walking back and she done got a little change or whatever. The lifestyle was different, but I was doing the same thing. So I always tell people, don't look at your situation and say, oh, well, mine is a little better than hers. Because no, we're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. Yours is different because it was you were a child. I was a child when it happened, but I'm talking about the lifestyle that I took on as a sophisticated woman to a sophisticated whore to a stripper to other things, and then other things led to other things. But again, when you come into the knowledge of your purpose and who you are, that is something no one can never take away from you. So my I applaud you for the level where you are today, and God is yet elevating you because you've been open and transparent and willing to share and giving your all. And it's so important. And so that's why I go far and beyond do the call of duty when I am asked to speak to girls. And as you said, the private conversations we can talk. And they're like, oh, you don't look like you ever. Well, I'm no longer her. But oh yeah, I used to and was proud of what I was doing because I didn't understand and didn't know any better. I wasn't thinking about value and self worth and self love at 22, 23 years of age. So it wasn't until, like I said, I got pregnant with my first baby. And then all of a sudden, everything in me, and because I started a prayer life and said, Lord, I want to be better. I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to be the best mom. And so when I realized that I had something growing inside and I needed to change, God did exactly what I asked him to do, but I was willing, I was open, and I had to be transparent. So I applaud you. So we're going to wrap it up, and I've taken enough of your time, but this has been so, so good. Oh my God. So in our closing, in your closing, if you would just give leave something, what would you leave with our guests today? If they didn't hear anything else, or if they've heard it all, the one thing you want them to know before we close.
Never judge children.
That's right.
Never put a stigma on a child based on the way they look,
Hmm.
how they dress, because you never know what they what it took to even get up in the morning. You don't know
Oh,
what's going on in their house. You don't know if they got clean clothes to wash their clothes. You don't know if they had toothpaste to brush their teeth. When you see something, what the first thing you need to do is say, what happened? How can I help you? Is
how can I
everything
help?
okay?
How
Do
can
you
I help?
need something? And if you see something that looks suspicious or look off, then do
Report
an
it.
investigation. You don't need to put yourself in harm's way, but you can make a call and say, you know what, I don't know if it's factual, but I'm not feeling good about what I see, and I just want to report it.
That's right.
And just give children space to know that they're cared for and that they're loved. Whether you're the family, whether you're the neighbor, whether you are in passing, just take time to just be kind. Just be kind, be present, and talk to kids about sex trafficking. Talk to them
That's
about
right.
the media, social media. Talk to them about all these the links and the Roblox, and you know what? I do want to
Yeah.
say this because it's so important. So many
In the
times,
airport.
parents, we as parents, we want to pacify our children and give them stuff
Mm.
because we're not doing what we could be doing because we're
Wow.
working and we're doing
Wow.
so much that we feel like if we buy them an iPod or we get them the latest
Mm-hmm.
iPhone or we get them the PlayStation 5 and take them to
Mm-hmm.
get their
Mm-hmm.
nails done, that we just amazing. We're
No,
not. Because
no.
let me tell you this, when your baby is in the room and the door is closed and you just made him or her mad and they done linked up on social media and
Come
they
on.
venting about how mean of a mama or dad they have, and
Oh,
they
wow.
think that is a somebody on their age on the other line, and they listening and they saying my mama just
Wrong
really got on
person.
my nerves, and they're saying, you know what, I hate that. I know she's not listening to you, but I'm gonna
Mm.
listen. Is everything
Mm.
okay? And then have that child sneak out the house, meet them down the road, and they done took that child to a whole nother state, and they didn't
Lord Jesus.
took they didn't gave the child some money, they got the nails done, they took them to a nice restaurant, and the next day they gonna tell your child, them $600 I paid you for, I
Mm.
just paid, you gonna give me that money back.
Mm-hmm.
So look in that back seat. There's a bag. I want you to get that outfit, and I'm about to take you over here, and you gonna put that on, and you gonna go inside, and Mister David is waiting on you, and you gonna dance, and you gonna do whatever Mister David tell you to do to get me my money back. And you in a whole nother room, you sleep, and you don't have no idea that your baby that went out the window and got in the car and already downtown and did
Lord
everything you can
Jesus.
think of while you sleep.
That's
So
right.
take control over the phones. If they're young, the phone should be in your room on the dresser to the next day. And
That's
you should
right.
be going through their phones, seeing what's going on in their phones.
Wow.
They shouldn't have no secret passwords and none of that. You should
Come
be
on.
linked. You should be able to go to T-Mobile, Sprint, whoever your provider is, and get a log and read it, find out what's going on, who they
That's
talking to,
right.
and all those things. And we don't, because we just want to pacify and be a friend. Don't be a
Wow.
friend, be a parent.
Be a parent. And there is a difference. That's right. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been good, girl. We can talk for hours and hours. This is good stuff right here. And I want to thank you. And one more thing, it was something you had put into the airport, the signs. Brief them about that, and so I can pay attention to whatever's going on in the airport for sex trafficking.
In Atlanta, there was a bill called the Safe Harbor Bill. I worked on that bill. And also, when you go into restaurants and hotels and bathrooms, you'll see a 1-800 number if you see something dealing with sex trafficking. I'm was
Mhm.
one of the people that sat on that to make sure it happened. And also, I'm the ambassador for Atlanta Hartfield Airport. So when you hear the electric sex trafficking, say something. If you see something, say something. I was a
Mhm.
part of that as well. And I'm also the ambassador for Fulton County Sex Trafficking Task Force, and also the Rotary International ambassador for them as well.
Uh, Powerful. So grateful. So grateful. So grateful. When you think about your past, everything makes sense now. We never see it, or we never understood why or how, and why is it wasn't me. And God says at the end, why not you? And he's chosen you because he knew what he had put inside of Dorsey Jones Cook from a child, from birth, before you were even conceived in your mother's womb. And so he knew that you would take what he allowed you to go through and
And what
turn it all for your good and his glory. And now look at how you are trailblazing, the path to help children, girls, boys, because boys are being sex trafficked as well, but just how you are making the impact. So I applaud you. My hats are off to you for all that you've done, all that you're doing, and want to commend you. And so excited about the promotion that you just received and the new position that you will be entering soon. So Godspeed with that as well. And
thank
so
you.
I am looking forward to connecting and doing some things because we've chat as we will continue. So grateful, so honored to have had you on the platform.
Oh, you're
Truly,
welcome.
truly grateful. So thank you so much. Well, we are going to bring it to a close. This has been phenomenal. I need you to share the episode. Please go to YouTube, share the link with your family, your friends. You have loved ones that you are making concern about or you want to bring awareness. I am asking you to please share the episodes. It costs you nothing to share. So I am simply asking for the love and the support. If you need to reach Dorsey, could you give them your social media handle how can reach out to you because then they have some questions for you.
They can go to www.sovereign, SOVRAN, management.com.
Okay.
They can also go to my social media. Facebook is Dorsey Laquan Cook. And also they can call 404-539-1530 if they are interested in purchasing a book or one of my t-shirts that said God did it all.
Come on now. God did it all. I love it. I need a shirt. I need a shirt and a book. I'm loving it. Well, this has been awesome, phenomenal, very powerful, very impactful. And so we love you, Dorsey Cook. We'll be talking. Thank you so much for joining and giving God and Table Talk your yes. All right, family. We'll be back on the I think it's the 18th of May with Dr. Pastor Allison Marks, phenomenal woman. Again, another trailblazer. And so we're looking forward to chatting it up with her. This has been phenomenal. Dorsey, I wish you all the best in all that you do. Everything that your hands touch, I decree blessings upon blessings over your life. Have an amazing evening. Thank you.
Thank you, and I love you too. Bye-bye.
Love you back, sis. All right. All right. Ooh, this has been so good, so good, so good. And we are out. So we're going to see you next week after next, tuning in to Table Talk with the Diva. Make sure you share the episode. I love you. I want to see you win. And I am your host. I can't do anything else except inspire, empower, and ignite you because God has chosen me for such a time as this. I love you. Have a great night.
She's a diva with a destiny. Got purpose and zest, you see. Books, business, and accessories. She walks in favor and she's blessed indeed. She keeps her head and her heels high, and her limit soars beyond the sky. If it's purpose she's pushing, you've tuned in with Table Talk with the Diva. Why? Join in, it might free ya. Hey, hey. And if you're feeling down, come in. The enemy he's trapped won't win. For God has given you vision, and in the end you shall win. Hey. Table Talk with the Diva. Why? Join in, it might free ya. Hey, hey.